What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and in today's video we'll be going over the 10 most popular diets, see who it works for, who it doesn't work for. And if you like this type of content, go ahead, hit that like button, subscribe, share. Already got to start it off right. All right, let's go.
On track, now we gon' way up. W's as easy as a layup. Working late, stay up. Counting all the way up. Hurry up. On track, now we gon' way up. Now we going.
All right, so before we get started, just a quick reminder, I am not a registered dietitian, so this is not me giving you a meal plan. This is just me speaking from experience. Make sure you always do your research prior to starting. Go to your primary care physician, make sure everything's good to go before you start any diet or meal plan, whatever it may be. All right, so the first diet plan or meal plan or way of eating that I like to go over is calorie counting. This is one that's very popular. The reason it being is because it's so simple. This is the one I tend to recommend most of my people when they're starting, because all you're doing is counting calories. All you do is get MyFitnessPal, put down what you ate, and it tells you how much you ate. Now, if you don't want to count calories all the time, that's going to be a problem for you. If you don't feel like, I want to track everything I'm doing, because it's something you're going to have to do. I like to have most of my clients or athletes or people that ask me about it, I'm like, just write it on MyFitnessPal, get it going, and you're not going to change what you eat. Think about it. How many times have you changed your food from last week to this week to next week? It doesn't change that much, so you can stay around it relatively and you'll still see good results with it. Of course, the better you are at it, the better you're gonna see the results. So the more you track, the more specific you are with your tracking, the better you're gonna be able to be at the end of the day. And it works for any type of goal, and pretty much anybody at any level can do this. Now, the next one is fasting. This is one of the ones that I actually like practicing myself. I'm also going to put the videos down below, so if you wanna check out what I did with my fast, you can check it out. Whether it be intermittent fasting, whether it be a longer duration fast or a 5-2 fast. They tend to work pretty well in general for health reasons. People that will benefit from this is someone that's trying to get more self-discipline, someone that's trying to reset their eating, as well as someone that just doesn't have that much money. If you just don't have that much money, some of the richest people said that in their struggle times, they just got the fast mindset, so that way they saved a lot of money on eating. So that's a way of going about it. Who I would not recommend this to would be athletes or someone that's having a goal of trying to put on a good amount of mass. It tends not to work as well. You have to get really, really structured with it if you are that person. Now, I've seen people do it, but it makes it so much more difficult. The next one is raw vegan. Now, this one's a little extreme for most people, but personally, I feel like it's one of the healthiest ones for overall health. You get the best unprocessed foods in your system, and it's cruelty free for people that care about that. Now, the problem with this diet is that if you're eating raw vegan, you're missing out on some things, but you can supplement with vitamins. The bigger problem with it is for people that are trying to have a goal of, whether I want to put on some mass. It's gonna be tough putting on some mass going raw vegan. Trust me, like that's gonna be hard for you to be eating a lot of fruits and vegetables trying to put on muscle. You can still get your protein, you can still build mass, but it's gonna be very difficult. So for those people and athletes, I wouldn't necessarily feel like it's ideal for those people. But in general, it's one of the healthiest ones and something that I aspire to do at some point in my life. I've never done the raw vegan. I've done a lot of these diets or meal plans or way of eating, but we'll see. Next we have vegan, just regular vegan. Now, this has gotten very popular recently, and all it means is you don't eat any meat, pretty much. Any animal products, nothing. Now, I did this for a little bit at one point, did it for a few months. Now, vegan is not that difficult to do. It just becomes an issue when you're around people and we're going out to eat and you're like, oh man, can't eat anything that has any animal products pretty much everywhere you go. So unless you have friends or everything, a foundation of people that are like-minded, it's gonna be very difficult for you to do that one as well. But that one you can build muscle with being vegan, because it's not necessarily very low calorie. You can eat processed foods as long as they don't have meat in them. So that one's a little bit easier than raw vegan, a lot easier than raw vegan, but it also is how convenient it is. It's not necessarily the most convenient type of diet. And I wouldn't say it's the healthiest type of thing, because you can be vegan, like you see a lot of these people saying, I'm vegan, but they're either overweight or unhealthy because of the vegan stuff that they eat. So, I mean, it is what it is. We all Oreos are vegan. So if you're vegan, you can have you an Oreo. Now, the next one is vegetarian. All right, vegetarian is one of the ones that's very popular as well. You'll see that's the transition that most people go because they're like, okay, I don't have to eat meat, but I'm not giving up my cheese. I'm not giving up my milk. That's pretty much vegetarian. If you want to eat cheese, milk, eggs, you can be vegetarian. As long as you don't have any meat in your diet, you can be considered vegetarian, or you're following a vegetarian diet. The people that can get something good out of it are people that are on their way to being vegan, but they don't want to give all the stuff up. So they're like, okay, well, I don't want to be vegan. I still want to add my eggs. I still want to eat cheese. So they would benefit from it, all right? And they would find that a positive type of diet. And you can be an athlete and perform at a higher level being vegetarian. And it's not too inconvenient. I mean, you can get an egg sandwich wherever you go. So the next one we're going into is, in my opinion, one of the worst ones is a low-fat diet. That one's old school, but some people still to this day follow it. What I would not recommend you doing is a low-fat diet. I'm saying recommend. I usually don't say recommend. Don't low-fat diets. Now, you will find people that have succeeded in this. From health benefits and just longevity, low-fat diets tend to be one of the worst ones, if not the worst one in my opinion. All right, because you need fat. I guess the idea was fats have more calories than carbs and everything else, but not realizing that how you feel is very important. When you feeling full, fat really helps with that, as well as your joints have fat. You need fat for your brain. So I don't think they thought it all the way through. So some people, I would recommend you really looking into it before you even think about doing a low-fat diet. Because healthy fats are like avocados, nuts, certain things like that are very beneficial for you. Now we're going into a low-carb diet. That one is very popular. A lot of other ones come from a low-carb diet. So a low-carb diet just means you're cutting down your carbs, which is not necessarily ideal for everyone, but most people, we tend to eat too many carbs. We're eating carbs, which is supposed to be energy, and that's why we get overweight. All this energy and we're not expanding any of it, all right? So whenever you're working out really hard, eat more carbs. Whenever you're not working out so hard, eat less carbs. And me personally, I would say when you're lifting weights or doing any type of sprinting, carbs are good. When you're doing light cardio, maybe some yoga recovery type training, minimize the carbs or cut them out. And that works great for me. I remember I used to do that, and still to some extent do a little bit of that now. My diet is custom made to me, specifically on what I feel day to day and what my goal is. If you're an athlete, you definitely should be following a low carb diet because carbs are ideally what get you going. All right, so you need carbs because carbs are energy. One of the popular ones that's coming from like a low carb type diet is keto, which is gone crazy. Everybody loves keto, right? Eat fat, burn fat, which is very simple. You get your body to burn fat. Quick little thing that a lot of people don't know, when you're going into fasting, that's another benefit of fasting, because when you're fasting, you can get into keto fast, you can get into ketosis faster. That means burning fat within, I think, 2 to 4 day fast or whatever it may be. But after that, it depends on who you are. Check out the fasting video again so y'all can know what I'm talking about. The idea of keto is you're eating 70 to 80% fats. You can't have any of the sugars. You can't have pretty much all this stuff right here. It's very, so many things you can't do in keto. And it's very strict. So a lot of people fail on a keto diet because it's very hard. People are used to having their sweets. Now there are substitutes for it, but it is still not necessarily, it's not easy to go from, I'm gonna eat all this, I'm gonna eat Cheerios, I'm gonna eat all this stuff, to just going keto. But it can be very beneficial. Now for athletes, I still would recommend it. I feel like they would, even though you can convert the fat into energy to use it, the problem comes is that it's not as an efficient source of energy as carbs. Now we have the paleo diet, which some people confuse with the keto diet. As you can see, they're both very different. Some people refer to it as the caveman diet. And it basically strives to eliminate modern processed foods. So the big difference, as you can see right here, between the paleo diet and the keto, keto doesn't care about processed foods, paleo does, all right? But with paleo, you can have a little bit more flexibility in what you're eating. Both of them can be beneficial to a person. It all depends on what you want to do. If you're saying, I want to eat a lot of meat, I want to eat all this, then that might be the way to go. Like I said, it all depends. Last but not least, we have the plant-based diet. Now, the plant-based diet, it gets a little tricky. Some people are using that word and they're like, oh, I'm plant-based. And people are confused. Well, plant-based just means the majority of your foods come from plant. So 70 to 80%. And that's a pretty good one. I actually enjoy the plant-based diet. You can eat meat in the plant-based diet. You're just not eating a lot of meat, which, as we all know, a lot of studies show that excessive consumption of meat can lead to cancer and things like that. So minimizing the meat is a good thing, and athletes can do this. Pretty much anyone can benefit from this type of diet. So it's not saying you can still get a good amount of everything that you're consuming, as long as you're keeping it within 70 to 80% of it being plant-based and the 20 to 80 being from animal products. And they would recommend it to be organic, not really highly processed foods or meat. So that's the idea. Now, what do all these diets have in common? They all work for somebody at some point and still work for somebody today. All right? So that doesn't mean that every one of them is going to work for you. You just have to find out what works best for you. You can use the last video from last Wednesday, as a guide to see, okay, what am I going to do? How to find out which one might work for you. But my true recommendation would be start making better life choices, because we all have a gist of what's good and what's not good. All right? If you're eating McDonald's 4 or 5 times a day, you would think that that's not necessarily ideal, right? If you're drinking soda instead of water all the time, it's not ideal. If you're not sleeping, which, speaking of, I'm going to drop the sleep video down below too with the fast so people understand how important sleep is, then come on. So start making those little changes. That's going to be the easiest one. It's going to have the most long-term effect if you're able to make these changes and make them last, because we're creatures of habit. So the more you change, the better you're going to be. All right? So I hope that helped. I hope y'all got something out of this video. If you did, like, comment, subscribe, share with somebody, get them thinking, get them improved. This video is sponsored by Oreos. Alright, y'all don't be eating on these Oreos, alright? It's something you can't do that every day. Remember that. Yeah, have a good one, man.